Alright fellas, here we are back in Pokemon Masters, and today we have the rerun for Signa Suit Lana, Mina, and Acerola that's going to be dropping tomorrow. So we're going to be getting their release alongside the re-release of the villain art for Alola, as well as some other events and whatnot, right? Mostly just the time trial event, which always seems to come back around the same time. Anyway, so this is probably one of the most valuable rerun banners in the game, and definitely the most valuable rerun banner in the month. Probably one of the most valuable banners of the month, period. I would say that there is good, amazing argument for saying that this banner is probably the second most valuable banner in the month. I would say that outside of New Champion Rosa, this banner definitely takes the cake for overall value because Signa Suit Acerola alone carries a lot of value just because of how strong she is, as well as Signa Suit Lana with her great damage, and Signa Suit Mina with her pretty solid uses as well. This banner is just absolutely insane to pull for. So, let's look at the unit's abilities. Starting off with probably the least meta-shattering one, we'll go over Signa Suit Mina. So Signa Suit Mina's base kit, she is a support sync pair that's fairy type with Tapu Fini, and her big gimmick is that she's able to set both Rain and Fairy Zone. She has Draining Kiss, which is mostly just used for restoration / 2-gauge spam. Rain Dance to set Rain, which is obviously great as a support character. Her Sea Deity Protect Buddy move, which activates whenever there is a weather terrain or zone in effect. It applies Damage Guard effect to all allies, restores HP of all allies by 20% of their maximum, restores HP by 30% of maximum when in Fairy Zone instead, and returns lowered stats of all allied sync pairs to normal when in Rain. So basically, she can heal up to 30% HP for all allies, give them Damage Guard, and return lowered stats to normal, which in my opinion is definitely quite solid for abilities. Obviously, this is a more defensive type of utility, more so than offensive, which is mostly why Signa Suit Acerola is so insane, is because a lot of her abilities are offensive-based, but Tapu Fini here is more defensive-oriented, which is why you may expect to see her with more defensive-based abilities than offensive, of course. And then her trainer move, Pretty as a Painting, applies critical hit defense, raises special attack of all allies by 4, applies gradual healing, and then raises special attack of all allies by 2 when weather is in rain, meaning she can max special attack in a single use of the trainer move as long as you are inside of rain, which is actually very, very strong. Not necessary, but it's strong. Quite strong. And then, of course, gradual healing for allies is really good, especially considering the healing she gets from her buddy move, as well as having critical hit defense, meaning you may not have to run her with Vigilance. You can definitely run her with Adrenaline or Head Start 1 or any other lucky skill you may want to. And going into her passives, she has Fairy Zone Debut and Extension. All of the Tapus have this ability, just with their different field effects, right? Obviously, Tapu Lele has it with Psychic Terrain, Tapu Bulu has it with Grassy Terrain, Fini has it with Fairy Zone, and then Hau has it with Electric Terrain. So, very, very strong stuff here, especially for Fairy Zone. Now, I'd say now it's not a terrain that's super limited anymore, especially with the addition of the Fairy Evolution, Sylveon, the egg Sylveon. Obviously, Fairy Zone is now pretty much available for free, quote-unquote, as long as you get the egg for it. But it's still definitely very good to have it, 1, as a support, and 2, have it be extended like this, which is very, very good. Extends duration when the zone turns into Fairy Zone on the user's field of play. This does not mean you have to set it with her. You can, bring Signa Suit Wally or someone else that can set Fairy Zone, and it will extend it because she is simply in the battle, which is very, very strong. So obviously she's going to be good for powering up water allies and fairy allies, which is nice. Team Whimsical's special damage reduction in 3 reduces special attack damage taken by allies when in Fairy Zone. So she's essentially got a master passive level of defensive utility, in my opinion, which damage reduction, just raw damage reduction of 30% for simply being in Fairy Zone, which she wants to be in anyway. Very good stuff. 30% raw damage reduction is actually very, very good, and of course the damage guard and healing and whatnot. And then Pony Ocean Breeze, raising allies' defense and special defense by 1 when weather terrain or zone effect are activated on the allied field of play. Very good. So, as long as you or an ally are setting some sort of weather terrain zone, it does not matter. As long as it's one of your allies, you'll just be getting straight up defense and special defense +1 for all allies. So again, Mina here is a very defensive-based support with a little bit of offensive capability with the special attack buffing here, but mostly defense-based, right? She's got great healing, great damage guard, Pretty good bulk stats as well, especially, 6-star EX. Pretty average bulk stats, I would say. But the damage reduction is obviously her biggest kicker, right? She can keep your allies alive, and she can keep them from taking a lot of damage, which is definitely something that's very useful now more than ever, with the stadium battles getting, more strength requiring, so enemies can definitely hit a lot harder. And of course, we have the new ultimate battles and whatnot. I'm sure that this is why Signa Suit Mina is actually quite useful in that event, because she is one of the very few characters that is actually capable of taking on Annabelle. So with these abilities and her damage reduction and her healing and whatnot, that is mostly why she's able to take on Annabelle, just with these cracked healing abilities. And obviously, Neo Champion Blue shares similar type of sentiment, just he's a lot better. So I'd say the Signa Suit Mina, for this very reason, is super good in that event because of it. But that is literally just her base kit. And overall, as a base kit, I would say it's not bad, for sure. Just obviously, a lot of people want offensive buffs, physical moves next, special moves next, super effective next, maybe like defensive debuffs, that type of thing. Mina doesn't provide that, which I can definitely understand being a little bit upset by that, but of course, she's also just a more defensive-based unit, which I think is definitely not bad, right? Especially when you pair her with the right partners. They can still benefit immensely. Looking at her grid, she's just got Flameproof and Stalwart at 1 out of 5. 2 out of 5, she gets Racing Rain, Move Gauge Refresh on Rain Dance, Flabbergast on Draining Kiss, Dragon Guard, Whimsical Acceleration, and then True to Move Full Bracing Command 9. Pretty much nothing, I would say, really. Not really anything of substance. NPR is fine, I guess. Full Bracing Command 9's fine. Acceleration and Dragon Guard are fine. Flabbergast is niche. 2 out of 5 is not that great. It's not really worth all that much. I guess Rain Gear is pretty good as well, because she reduces damage even further, which is very, very nice. And then 3 out of 5, she gets Refreshing Rain for healing, Rain Dance Barricade Buddies, Team Sharp Entry 1, Fairy Kingdom, Team Whimsical Immunity Sync Wall, and Team Smart Start 1. Not bad, I'd say. She's got good healing here with Refreshing Rain. She's got Barricade Buddies for ally special defense buffs. I don't think it's necessary, but it's definitely decent if you want faster special defense buffs. Combine this with her Pony Ocean Breeze ability, and you get yourself a lot of special defense buffs. Team Sharp Entry 1 for a little bit of crit buffing, tiny bit, pretty solid. Sync Wall for critical hit defense. When using the Sync move, this kind of takes away the need of using the Trainer move, I would say, unless you just want to use it for more special tech buffs, I guess. Team Smart Start 1 for more special moves next on entry. I would say this is great because getting this on entry kind of wastes the special moves next, if that makes sense, because a lot of characters start getting more powerful mostly post the first Sync move. So if you're using Team Smart Start 1 here and you don't have this form of like Sync acceleration and you have to wait 3 turns to use your first Sync move, good chance your main damage dealer is already going to make a move by that point for offensive purposes. So this ability is kind of wasted on that move because it's so underpowered from not having the Sync buffs or maybe not being fully built up, whatever else. So kind of iffy, but not bad, I guess. Team Whimsical Immunity, status conditions being prevented. This is definitely more of a utility type of thing. Again, Toxic from Tornadus, Cresselia, or Paralysis, whatever it may be. That's more what this is for. And then Fairy Kingdom, turning the Fairy Zone into, or turning the field effect into Fairy Zone after using the Sync move, and of course extending it as well. This is the biggest, probably the best ability she gets at 3 out of 5 out of everything. But really, I'd say it's probably still not really too worth it. Mostly, this character's abilities are going to be good for battles where you need to be able to sustain for longer periods of time, I would say. So the Gauntlet, maybe the Annabelle's Ultimate Battle event, those type of things. That's probably where you're going to mostly want to use this character. Even then, in those battles, you would mostly want 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5. Because Draining Kiss, Master Healer, and Synchro Healing, very good abilities that you're going to want to have, probably. The healing is definitely just amazing. And then Rain Dance, Catalytic Kick, and Adrenaline 1 are overall, these are good abilities as well. But I would say nothing super insane. Adrenaline 1 you can just run as a lucky skill. Of course, Sync Ramping's fine and all, but I would just not go to 4 out of 5 for it. And then Rain Dance, Catalytic Kick for Gauge Acceleration definitely fixes her problem of not having any form of speed buffing. She does have Whimsical Acceleration, I guess, but mostly it, and I guess Racing Rain too. So combine these two, you don't have too much gauge issues, but still, having Gauge Acceleration is definitely a lot better to have than not. So overall, I'd say Mina is definitely not a bad defensive type of support, but mostly I'd say her best abilities are still locked behind 1 out of 5. I would say 3 out of 5's only real value is Fairy Kingdom, but of course you can get some solid stuff out of everything else as well. It's just that this is probably the most impacting ability that she gains overall. I'd say mostly everything is just fine at 1 out of 5. So yeah, that's Signa Suit Mina. Going into probably the most impactful of these units, Signa Suit Acerola and Tapu Bulu, who is also a support, and definitely one of the best supports in the game. Probably not, I don't know if she's still in contention for best, I'd say probably not, but she's definitely, actually no, Neo Champion Blue. Yeah, I'd say he's comfortably better. Either way, she's still a top tier support in the game, 100%. I'd say still probably top 5. Got a lot of good stuff. So if we go into her abilities here, same rough stats as Mina. I'm pretty sure they're about the exact same in terms of bulk. Speed's a little lower though. She's got Bullet Seed for a 2-gauge spammable move. She's got Sunny Day, very good. Unbreakable Swords Dance, activating whenever there is a weather, terrain, or zone effect activated. It raises all allies attack by 2, increases physical moves next of all allies by 1, and charges gauge by 2 when in Sun. Yeah. Just straight up raising attack and increasing physical moves next. Unconditionally. Well, conditionally, but really not even conditionally. Yeah. This is a strong ability. And then charging move gauge is fine for gauge management. Her training move, Now I'm Angry, raises defense of all allies by 2, raises crit of all allies by 3, and raises speed of all allies by 2 when in Sun. This is good. This is a great trainer move. Crit max in a single turn. And not only is that just an amazing ability, you don't have to, rely on Team Sharp Entry, you don't have to rely on the Dire Hit Plus, you don't have to do all that. You just straight up max it just out the rim, which is really great. And then raising ally speed and defenses by 2. This is also good as well. Obviously, in order to buff the speed, you do have to have Sun activated, which can be a little bit weird to queue up the moves and the turn order and all of that. But really, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. You could potentially just save using this for a few turns later until you have your Sun up. Or, of course, you can abuse sync ramping as well, just to make sure your Sun stays up. Whatever. It's something you're going to have to figure out how to manage yourself and just how you want to play. But the speed buffs, I have figured to be quite useful, at least in some occasions. So this is definitely not bad. And then her skills here, she's got Grassy Terrain Debut and Extension 5, obviously giving us Grassy Terrain and Sun. Probably the third most synergistic boost from these different field effects, right? And probably the most synergistic field effects that actually, boost allies. Because I'd say that the most synergistic would be like Ground/Rock Zone and Sand, and obviously Hail and Ice Zone. But these two actually buff 2 separate types, but they still manage to work together extremely well, because obviously a lot of grass types have the solar flare, charging sun, those type of abilities, like Brendan, Adaman. No, I don't think Adaman has it. Signa Suit Erica. Those type of characters, a lot of them have the solar flare type of nodes. And now Acerola here is able to apply both grass, terrain, and sun, so you can combine both of those into one unit. And not only that, she buffs attack, physical moves next, speed, crit to max, defense a little bit. It's pretty damn good. Also, not to mention, Unbreakable Swords Dance is 3 uses. That's just 3 physical moves next for fun. Pretty good. Team Verdant physical damage reduction 3, giving all allies physical move damage reduction when in grassy terrain. This is very good, because if you watched my Nate video with him in the Unova Circle, you would know that physical damage reduction, or just damage reduction in general, as noted with Signa Suit Mina, very, very good stuff. Damage reduction is amazing, just for the fact that, like, you reduce so much damage that you can opt to select these harder hitting parameters or these more risky, like, half HP type of parameters, and you can be mostly fine because of these damage reduction abilities. Again, if you saw the Nate video, you would know that his master passive and the Unova Circle being maxed out, giving us like a total of 40, maybe 50% physical damage reduction, is what enables us to live a lot of these heavy attacks, like an Iron Tail from Bruno, or something like that, even at half HP. It's that insane. Damage reduction is definitely insane, and this is very, very good. And then Ula Ula Ocean Breeze, probably one of the most broken passives in the game, increasing physical moves next of all allies by 1 when activating a weather, terrain, or zone effect. So she just sets grassy terrain on entry, and on sync with green thumb here in the grid, she sets sun twice on demand, which both of those are increasing physical moves next, just for fun, and she raises it with her Unbreakable Sword Stance. She can increase physical moves next so fast and so effectively that combining her with any physical attacker that can especially directly benefit from sun and grassy terrain, just makes them extremely powerful. a lot of characters benefit immensely from Signa Suit Acerola's release. Even characters who you may not want to run with their preferred zone partner could benefit more from Acerola than they would their actual zone partner. Like, for example, running her, I don't know, running her alongside Signa Suit N instead of running Signa Suit N alongside Irida. In my opinion, I'd say it may be more effective to do that because the physical moves next is just so strong and her buffing abilities are just so strong that you could probably outweigh the 50% buff from Ice Zone from Irida with the physical moves next that Acerola is able to apply, which is actually kind of insane to think about, right? And don't even get started on combining her with Special Costume Steven, because that literally just makes every physical damage dealer turn into a god of destruction. It's absolutely insane. It's absurd. Yeah. Overall, just at 1 out of 5 even alone, Signa Suit Acerola and Tapu Bulu are definitely one of the strongest supports overall in the game. And that doesn't include her grid, which going over, she's got 2 out of 5, or 1 out of 5 is pretty much nothing. 2 out of 5, about the same, pretty much the same thing as Mina, but I would say that the Trainer Move NPR and Pep Rally are more valuable because I've actually made full abuse of this in order to get my speed to plus 4/+6 instead of having it be stuck at +2 or +3. And it's pretty good, honestly. You can use her relatively effectively as a speed maxer within 2 turns. Well, 3, I guess, because you do need the sun, of course, right? But it's still pretty good. Still pretty damn good, I would say. Especially because you also get some defensive buffs on top of it. Obviously, you don't get the crit buffs, but that's not really a big issue. And her just being able to buff speed a little bit more is definitely far more useful than not. But other than that, I would say she's 2 out of 5 is not really all that great. It's decent enough abilities. It's about what you would expect. Sunscreen 1, damage reduction, whatever. 3 out of 5, she gets Sunny Day Team Brawn gain 9, increasing ally physical moves next when using Sunny Day. So now you're getting even more physical moves next for using Sunny Day, and you get the physical moves next from the activation of Ula Ula Ocean Breeze, meaning every time you use Sunny Day, you get +2 physical moves next. Just for using Sunny Day. I don't think I can get over how fucking crazy that is. And then she's got no quarter and Tripping Strike on Bullet Seed, which isn't really too worth going over. Tripping Strike's not that great. Green Thumb is a great ability, being able to set Grassy Terrain on the sync move. Very, very useful. We are getting more and more Grassy Terrain characters as the game progresses, so this is getting a little bit less and less valuable, but I'd still say this is definitely quite strong to have, especially if you need to have a longer battle and you need the Grassy Terrain for its mostly restoration abilities, as well as just powering up grass-type allies. This can definitely hold a lot of value. Team Grassy Restoration 9, restoring allies' HP when making a move in grassy terrain. You're probably going to pick this up anyway, if you really want to. And this is a good ability, right? Being able to restore ally HP, again, mostly useful for longer battles and whatnot, where you need to make sure you have healing. Or, of course, maybe if you go into a battle with half ally HP, and you need to be able to do that, it would be very, very good here for making sure your team stays healthy in those type of battles. And then Safety Tether, applying endurance to her after using her sync move, so she has extra, survivability. Very nice. First Aid 4 for just straight up direct on-demand healing. Also very, very good. I would say that her 3 out of 5 is definitely quite valuable, mostly in her healing abilities and ability to set Grassy Terrain even more, and the extra physical moves next on Sunny Day. All these abilities are definitely strong, 100%. And really just depends on what type of grid you're running, what character you're running her with, and whatnot, on how useful this actually may end up being. I should probably do a video over this character now that I think about it. I may as well. Anyway, yeah, 3 out of 5 for her. Definitely very, very nice. I have her 3 out of 5 and can vouch. Very strong. 4 out of 5, she gets Recharging Strike 2 on Bullet Seed and Adrenaline 1. Very similar to Mina with the Adrenaline 1, but now she gets Gauge Refresh, which isn't all that great because you already have a lot of speed from her Trainer Move and her Pep Rally here and whatnot. Your gauge is fine. And if you really want gauge restoration abilities, Speeding Sun and Turbo Turf 2 are right there at 2 out of 5. You don't need them. And then Adrenaline 1 for extra sync countdown. Again, you could pretty much just run Adrenaline as her lucky skill if you really want to. But again, it's always up to you. And then 5 out of 5 for Punishing Strike 2. This is where it gets quite a bit more valuable. And Vigilance if you want to have that critical hit protection and run a different lucky skill. Really, Vigilance and Adrenaline 1 are just here so you can select one or the other as the lucky skill. Like if you choose Adrenaline 1 here, you may run Vigilance as our lucky skill, and vice versa. Or you could do a double Adrenaline, whatever. But really, I'd say the most valuable ability at 5 out of 5, and probably 4 out of 5 as well, is probably Punishing Strike 2 on Bullet Seed, giving her even more physical offensive utility, making it so not only does she boost attack, sun, grassy terrain, and a shitload of physical moves next, she's also able to debuff defense, so your physical attackers are able to do even more damage. Pretty damn good. But of course, it's only a 30% chance per Bullet Seed, and you need to pick up no quarter for it to have full effect, which is already taking up 40 energy. So not to mention that, you would have to really siphon your energy to make a lot of use of it. Like, good lord. 4 energy there, 7 energy there. Don't know what you're gonna do, man. That's a lot of energy just to use on this character for these abilities, but it still does enable you to pick up some other things as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, Signa Suit Acerola, definitely a very, very strong unit. I'd say 3 out of 5 is all you really need, but even 1 out of 5, this character can make a massive impact. I would say if you don't have her, maybe try to pick her up, because she can definitely help so many characters. Not even those that benefit off grassy terrain and sun, but obviously especially useful for those. So yeah, that is Signa Suit Acerola. Let's look at Tapu Lele with Lana here. Good lord, already 20 minutes in. Okay, Signa Suit Lana, Tapu Lele, just a pretty big damage dealer, I would say. Very big damage dealer. She's got pretty low attack, but she definitely makes up for it in a lot of her other abilities here. She's got Moonblast for fairy damage. It doesn't really do all that much. I would say, honestly, off-type psychic damage, I think, is actually better. I may be wrong, but it may be better. And then she's got Neo Psycho Cut here, which is a 4-gauge move, hits all opponents, and it never misses. 168 power, and activates whenever there's a weather terrain or zone effect. Same as the other Tapus. Never misses. Except in certain circumstances, attacks hits with this attack become critical hits. The power of this move is not lowered if there are multiple targets. Decreases the amount of move gauge slots needed to use the move by 2 when in psychic terrain, which she sets as by herself as a striker. So, not too bad, right? Being able to set psychic terrain as a striker. Also, as usual, she gets the psychic terrain debut and extension, so she's got a shit load of psychic terrain activated. Definitely one of the best psychic terrain, probably the best psychic terrain setters in the game. Yeah, I'd say she's the best, for sure, just because she's able to do it on demand and directly benefit off of it. So yeah, the Neo Psycho Cut here has some pretty good strength capabilities. Not having the damage reduction is great the split damage from multiple targets is amazing. Guaranteed critical hits is obviously very nice, though. Is it super useful? I don't know. And then obviously having the ability to have reduced gauge is also extremely nice as well. So she's able to set her own terrain, she's able to use her move very effectively and do a lot of damage with it, right? Then she's got a turn move Cast the Line, which raises her attack and special attack by 6. Applies super effective next when in psychic terrain. She's going to do crazy psychic damage anyway. This super effective next is not really all that necessary. And Moonblast, you're probably not going to use it, honestly. And then her sync move doesn't really have anything on it. She's got second terrain debut and extension 5, as we've mentioned. She's got Team Weird Vibes 2, powering up all ally moves when in psychic terrain. So she's obviously boosting herself from that and boosting her other psychic damage dealers. Signa Suit Mina, amazing partner, shares the Alola master passive and directly benefits from psychic terrain. Pretty good characters to pair up, I would say. And then Akala Ocean Breeze, increasing her physical moves next by and special moves next by 1 when an ally activates a weather terrain or zone. So anytime that's activated, she just gets herself a free physical moves next. And if you can, and if you want to pair her with Signa Suit Acerola, which is actually a pretty viable pairing because they don't really interfere with each other too much. I guess psychic and grassy terrain, but really, she can just set the psychic terrain back herself if she needs it. I'm lost. There we go. She can set the psychic terrain back if she needs it, but you get a whole lot of physical moves next from that, which will make your Neo Psycho Cut hit for a lot of damage. So yeah, very, very strong pairing there. But I'd say at 1 out of 5, she's not uber insane. The support's definitely nice. The physical moves next are going to help her do a lot of damage, but her attack is extremely low. Having barely over 300 attack is quite saddening, especially at 1 out of 5 where her power move, the power of her move is only at 140. It's not that great, man. It's really not that great. And a 20% power buff to that 140 base power move is not going to be the most insane thing ever. So you do want to keep that in mind. her 1 out of 5 damage is not going to be insane. If you want to pull this character, I would say she probably needs dupes in order to actually do quite a bit of damage. So, looking at that, 1 out of 5, she gets nothing. 2 out of 5, she gets Trainer Move NPR, which is pretty much useless. Power Induction 5, which is nearly useless. This is only if you run her with Signa Suit How and you don't want to have Psychic Terrain up with her, because this is the same power buff as having Psychic Terrain up. And obviously, since they're both terrains, you cannot have them both activated at the same time, so this multiplier is, if this multiplier is activated, you don't have that 1.5 times boost from Psychic Terrain. If Psychic Terrain is active, you don't have the 1.5 times boost from Power Induction. It just cancels each other out. That's it. It's only for varying team compositions. That's literally it. Precognition, super duper effective 1. Weird Vibes 1 is not bad, adding extra power to her team. Weird Vibes 2, but just for herself, of course. And that's Psychic Terrain NPR. She has enough Psychic Terrain. You don't need any more, man. I'm sorry, you don't need any more. So yeah, I'd say her 2 out of 5 is almost useless. 3 out of 5, she gets Trainer Move Propulsion. Definitely not bad. 3S Brain, finally an actual multiplier. Critical Sync. This is another big problem. At 2 out of 5 and 1 out of 5, she cannot crit on her Sync move because she doesn't have any innate crit. So you need to either bring a crit support or you just don't want to use her Sync move. So yeah, you got to be very careful of that. I would say that you just have to bring a crit support or just not use her Sync move. That's all you can do. So this ability kind of mitigates that, circumvents it, whatever, and now you get yourself guaranteed crits on Sync moves, which is definitely very nice overall as well because of the +3 crit, and you only have a, what, 70-80% chance to crit on the Sync move, unless you have Soften Up 1. Stupid. Hate that mechanic, but still. So this circumvents that as well, which is nice. Moonblast on a roll for 90% chance of special attack debuffing, which is nice, I guess. If you want to use her as a debuffer, sure, may as well. But I still wouldn't say it makes Moonblast better than her Neo Psycho Cut. Then she gets Haymaker and Weird World. You're not going to need a Weird World, never pick it up, please. Haymaker for the Sync Nuke is definitely very, very nice because she actually has a multiplier now. Plus her Sync nodes as well are good. Weird Might 4, 50% chance to increase physical moves next when attack move is successful in Psychic Terrain. So she gets even more physical moves next just for existing in Psychic Terrain, which is very, very good. Weird Charge 9, you don't need that. Just move gauge refresh when in Psychic Terrain. She already only uses 2 gauge for her Neo Psycho Cut if you're in Psychic Terrain. So you're fine on gauges. Come on. And yeah, I'd say that's pretty much it for 3 out of 5. I'd say 3 out of 5 is definitely far better for her, of course. You get an actual multiplier. For your Neo Psycho Cut, it gets powered up from the, dupe boost. So that's good. And then Haymaker, of course, for a multiplier. Critical Sync, so you don't need a crit support anymore. And then Weird Might 4 for extra physical moves next. And Trainer Move Propulsion for some potential Sync countdown shenanigans. Definitely very, very good. She's extremely self-sufficient with her buffs, as well as the terrain she needs. So all she needs to do is pretty much start spamming Neo Psycho Cut after using her Trainer Move, and you're just going to get a lot of damage out of her, right? She doesn't need to worry too much. Occasionally set up Psychic Terrain, but again, it is extended, so you're not going to set up Psychic Terrain nearly as often as you would have to otherwise. And I'd say that definitely works out a lot better for her, especially. Though you may have to sacrifice a lot of the sync stuff if you want to run her DPS-related builds, which, while saddening, is just, that's how it's going to work sometimes, because I'd say that her DPS is definitely the more beneficial side of her than her sync damage. But once you get to 5 out of 5, that changes when she gets brain power, meaning her sync stuff is actually a lot more valuable to pick up, because otherwise Haymaker, 100% multiplier, it's not the greatest. It's fine, but it's not the greatest. But now she's actually got 2 multipliers plus the sync nodes here with brain power and Haymaker both being activated. But again, Haymaker is locked behind 5 out of 5, which sucks. But still, it's fair, I guess. Other than that, though, 4 out of 5, she gets Adrenaline 1 and Psychic Terrain Catalytic Kick, I believe. Yeah, Catalytic Kick. You don't need a gauge refresh. Again, she only uses 2 gauge on her her buddy move 1 in Psychic Terrain. And Adrenaline 1, you're already getting propulsion on the trainer move. You don't need that much sync countdown, though again, it can be useful if needed. And then again, 5 out of 5, she gets Brain Power and Impervious, which you're probably not going to pick up Impervious ever. Maybe if you're in an extreme battle that does a lot of stat debuffing, maybe, but really, probably not. The worst thing about her at 4 out of 5 and 5 out of 5 is that Brain Power is expensive to pick up, because then you have to sacrifice maybe some damage nodes or some other stuff, maybe the sync nodes, whatever it may be, which is definitely unfortunate. And look, in this scenario, I can't even pick up this sync node. I don't think I can even get to this. Yeah, I can't even get to all this stuff, which is very sad. I guess you can pick up something like this if you want to do a full, quote-unquote, full sync nuke. I don't know the best grid for her, I'll be honest, but still. Oh, Tremor Propulsion. There we go. There, you can pick up Adrenaline. Big whoop. If you want Adrenaline, there you go. And there you go. You can get a Weird Vibes 1 for an extra 10% on your power. Yippee. If you just want to pick that up, I guess. But maybe you could also do something else to where you can pick up some damage stuff. I don't know. You can build the grid however you like. I would say that 3 out of 5 is probably good enough just for her damage stuff, because the Neo Psychica is definitely very, very strong. At least it has the capability to be. So the DPS stuff being helping out with that with Furious Brawn and Weird Might 4, pretty good to pick up. But, of course, if you do want her full nuke, 5 out of 5 is probably what you're going to have to do, because I would not say her nuke's sufficient at 3 out of 5. Just getting Haymaker is fine, but that's it. Overall, yeah, Signa Suit Lana is definitely quite a strong striker, but sadly she needs 5 out of 5 for all her stuff, 3 out of 5 for her DPS stuff. Oh well, though. But I would say that at least Signa Suit Acerola and Mina are definitely quite strong at 1 out of 5, but they Acerola more specifically gains quite a bit more from 3 out of 5, especially more than Mina. But yeah, overall, the banner value is definitely insane. If you can pull these characters and definitely get dupes in some of them, you can definitely look at some very, very strong units here. These characters are still great even half a year after their release, so be sure to pick them up if you haven't. And yeah, I'll see you all later. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know if you're going to be going for the triple feature PokeFair Scout for the Universe Signa Suits, and I'll see you all later.